The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests, and are not those of Pesmo Radio, its employees or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements of any radio show programs or products mentioned on air, on our website, social media accounts, and marketing materials. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to Pesmo Radio, its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing Pesmo Radio.
Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to the Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos. And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Thank you for tuning in, and welcome back to the Songwriter Show. I'm your host, Sarantos, a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words are very important to me, and that's why I love hosting this show for you every Tuesday evening. I believe that every song is a story. The Songwriter Show is broadcast live on number one ranked Pesmo Radio and has listeners in all 206 countries in the world and every state in America. The station is also licensed with ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and Sound Exchange, and has partnerships throughout the music industry, including iHeartRadio and exposure to over 300 million listeners. Tonight's first and only guest are the Transonics. The Transonics are a female-fronted six-piece band from Columbia, South Carolina, in the USA. Their high-energy music combines elements of new wave, surf, and psychedelic pop rock. They draw inspiration from the great music of the 60s through the early 80s when rock music ruled the airwaves. And I can't wait to talk to them because I'm a rock guy myself. So welcome to the show, everyone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Yeah. So how's the quarantine hitting you guys in South Carolina? Is that where you guys are at right now?
Yes.
Yeah. We're just all laying low and staying home as much as possible.
Yeah, fun, right? Are you getting bored yet, or not really?
Yeah, catching up on my video gaming.
Yeah. That's right. All those I've run out of things to watch on Netflix, so it's getting a little boring. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So let's talk about your music a little bit. I've heard some of your stuff, and it's kind of cool. I'm sure you each have a unique story to tell, but tell me a little bit about how the band came together, and then maybe you can each share a little bit about your own beginnings in the music industry.
Lisa and I, I'm Patty, we started jamming together, I guess, about 6 years ago.
About 6 years ago, yes.
And we went through different band members, and nothing really worked out, but and then I ran into David at a grocery store, and I hadn't seen him since high school. And we were friends back in high school, and he came in and started. We started off on drums. He plays all the instruments, and then we found a drummer, so he switched to bass, and then we found a bassist, so he switched to guitar, and that's kind of how we came together.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Josh, I've known Josh for years as well. He used to play in a band that practiced at the same space that we did. And then Michael came in on keys.
Yeah.
I've known Michael for a while too. So we're just, I guess we're all little friends that just sort of came together.
It's wonderful. Yeah. finding people to play with is such a challenge. I know I had my own journey, and I'm a solo artist, and I would get people to jam with, and it's the hardest thing in the world. I was signed up for the Toronto Music Festival, and I had the band I had hired to, basically do my stuff with me backed out like a week before. So then I had to sit and try to find, and I don't even know how I found a cover band that could cover it last minute, but it is so hard to find people that you mesh with.
That's amazing that you found somebody that quickly.
It was just like a stroke of luck, because of course I was freaking out. This was a few years ago. And I vowed after that, I've tried to find people, but I vowed until I get people I really love and they're reliable, that I'm just not going to really do live shows anymore. So that's my nightmare story.
Oh, yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah. Do you guys do a lot of live shows before the virus?
Yes, we did. We played probably out 2 or 3 times, a month. And, of course, the coronavirus has kind of derailed that for right now. But, we've actually been writing new material and heading into the studio Saturday to do pre-production on our new EP coming out, hopefully this fall.
That's great. How do you guys decide? I'm sure you write pretty frequently, but how do you decide something's going to make it to an EP or an album? Is there a process you have, or do you just trust each other? How does that work for you guys?
Well, usually somebody will bring something in and we'll try to turn it into something. And sometimes it just isn't happening for you and you can't really come up with something for it. So then the next thing that just sort of catches on, and I guess whatever gets finished first, really. And the ones that get finished first are the ones, I guess, that grab you. And I think that's our filter process.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you ever write together, or do you just each separately bring it in and then work on it?
We write together. We kind of step all over each other, and we're like, I don't know about that part. What about this part? Yeah, we're all in each other's business when we're writing. But it's for the best, I think. And it's like I was writing a bass line yesterday, and Josh is like, well, why don't you do this? Josh is the drummer, and I feel like it better now. So. Okay.
Tell us a little bit about when you each got started doing music. Were you kids? Were you teenagers?
Well, I've been playing music my whole life. My father and my grandfather, great grandfather, they were all musicians, and so I guess I just picked it up from my dad. I got my first guitar when I was 4 years old, and I've always just wanted to sing. What about you guys?
I've always been doing it since probably 5 or 6. I remember Bobby Goldsboro's show. I'd go grab my stool and my little guitar and play along with him, and I've been playing ever since then. And it evolved to different genres and stuff. Of course, punk and metal and alternate. It changes.
Yeah.
So you kind of incorporate some of those elements, into what we're doing now.
I've always just had an interest in it. I'm Lisa, by the way. I always had an interest in it, and I've always had an affinity towards it. And when I met Patty a few years back, we just clicked, and she was like, let's do this together. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll give it a shot. And I've just been going with Patty ever since. So that's how I started with Patty.
You're doing awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I wasn't 4 or 7. I guess I was an old guy. I was like 13. Wow. And that's when I got my first guitar.
So old.
And then started playing in bands, and then everyone wanted to play guitar, so I said, hell with it, I'll buy a drum set. So kind of been playing drums since I was 16. That's about it, really.
Okay. Is there a first tune that you guys jammed to when you first got together that's kind of something you love warming up with, or something you love to kind of always go back to?
Waiting is our warm-up song. Vocally, it's just easy. It's it's a song that's on our album that we just released. It's kind of got a Fleetwood Mac type groove, I guess we're told. Yes, it's a nice one.
It's a good one. Yeah, I like Waiting. Secret Code, I like that one too.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
That's a good one. Easy to warm up.
Okay. Anyone's family musical? I think one of you mentioned that someone in your family was musical. Did any of them inspire you guys to go into music?
Me, Patty, yeah. Yeah, just my father was a guitar player. He was in the Army, but, he also played guitar. He played in some bands. And then my grandfather was a musician that used to play in bands. I guess it must have been the 30s, 40s when he was out playing. I saw some pictures of him standing with his bandmates in an old family photo album, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, my grandfather had his own band, so it was very interesting.
I have no musical family whatsoever. I'm the only one, I think.
Yeah. But nobody in my family really cares that I play in a band. It's like, well, everybody's a musician, so it's not a big deal, really.
Yeah. Is there like a fond musical memory you guys have as a band?
As a band? No,
Yeah.
It's just been a lot of trials and tribulations so far. Nothing fun at all.
We played State Street Pub, and it was the first time we all played together with our lineup, and it just meshed. And I know we had something special.
That was cool, yeah.
That was a good.
That was a
good
night.
one. Yeah.
The Halloween in July show too. We can't do it this year, unfortunately. But at the Art Bar here in Columbia, we like to. We started putting on the show about 3 years ago. It was Michael, our keyboard player's idea to do Halloween in July. So everybody gets dressed up, and I think that's always a fun show to do. I have good memories of you guys.
Yeah.
All right, tell us a little bit about your songwriting process. Someone comes up with an idea, and then what do you guys do with it? Do you focus on instrumentation first, melody, lyrics? How do you guys work it out?
Well, somebody else will step in and take the thing that's been written, and they'll just rip it apart, and
It's more or less instrumentation at first, and then you're like, oh, I like that part. Repeat that. Do that again. And then someone will come up with like a melody to kind of sing, and usually probably no lyrics yet, but some sort of melody, and just kind of build on that. See where the song kind of goes and takes its own self.
Yeah, the melody definitely always comes before the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Lyrics, I think, are the hardest thing to come up with.
I agree.
Yeah.
So they've got to fit the feel and they've got to fit the feel of the song.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys always do the vocals female, male, mixture? Is there a way that or do you try anything that works?
I guess I usually just will come in and start to write something, and then we'll do the harmonies around that, and Josh does some of the harmonies. He hasn't done any. You want to do some leads? You haven't done any leads.
No.
All right, and then Lisa does leads sometimes too. So I don't know if I answered your question correctly or not. Sorry.
Yeah, there's no correct. You guys can. Okay. How do you balance your band with either solo careers, families, work, and other obligations? How often do you guys practice?
It's gotten really easy right now. Half of us are out of work because of the coronavirus. So we don't really go anywhere or do anything. We're all self-isolating. So the only people we're around is each other, and we kind of figure, well, we're all being extra careful, so we're trusting each other to come up with new stuff, and try to work on our next EP.
But we try and do at least once a week, to where for a good couple hours, like a concrete thing, and then maybe hopefully another day or two. So I'd say at least 2 days a week.
It was definitely a lot more stressful before. There was a lot more going on. Lisa still has a lot going on. She's still working full time.
Yeah, I'm an essential worker. That's code for you can be replaced. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the funniest mistake one of you made in a performance, in a live show, that you're willing to admit on the air.
We were playing at the Tin Roof here in town, and Lisa, I don't know what happened to her tambourine. It just went rolling out into the audience like a bowling ball. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I tucked it under my arm instead of looping it on my arm to do some hand claps, and it just took off. Went rolling.
And of course, you walked up to the mic and said, "I meant to do that," right?
Right, exactly.
Nice young gentleman in front gave it back to you.
Yeah, somebody finally gave it back to me. Yeah, that was nice.
Has anybody fallen off the stage yet? I'm trying.
No, nobody's fallen off the
That's
stage.
good.
That's somebody else's turn.
There was one stage that was very scary. It was incredibly small and high off the ground. We were terrified we were going to fall off that stage.
You know what? You're absolutely right. Some of the stages are so tiny. It's like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it's 6 of us.
Yes, it's 6 grown people on a stage. You're like, I don't think this is going to work out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess since we're not playing to like 80,000 people live, no one else probably understands what we're talking about. But
we need to hit the big time for safety.
Yeah, that's right. Do you guys try to practice individually ever, or do you just practice as a band now?
I practice individually all the time.
Oh, yeah. It's very important. I've learned it's very important. You must practice.
Every day.
Yeah.
Usually a couple hours in the morning and in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get up every day and do some sort of musical activity, whether it's guitar, bass, drums, something, anything.
Mm-hmm. I think my instrument's easy. I was like sing in the shower or something.
You know what? It's funny you say that because things have been really hectic for me lately, but I started training about 2 months ago for the marathon again. For some bizarre reason, I started doing this, but at the end of my runs, when I'm like dehydrated, I just sing for the last like half hour, and people are kind of looking at you, and you'll kind of stop if you get a bunch of people get around you. But I figure if I can sing after running when I'm exhausted, and it's actually kind of helped me, believe it or not. I feel like it's really, because I feel like you're not straining, you're really relaxed because you're pretty tired from your run. So I don't know if I found some kind of bizarre thing, but for me, it seems to be working a lot, actually.
Maybe you're like, your lungs are more open and stuff. You've been breathing, and I don't know. It's like you're getting more air in there.
Yeah. And you're supposed to be relaxed.
Yeah, and actually sometimes I actually thought about doing this. I thought about starting something called garage band covers, because at the end I'll come and I'll basically be in my garage and I'll just be my iPhone, just in my AirPods, just singing all sorts of my favorite songs. But then I was kind of like, releasing those acapellas is probably pretty stupid, but it's actually pretty cool. I don't know why. When you said that vocally you can kind of practice anywhere, it's so true.
Yeah. I might have to try that sometime. I'm not a runner, but maybe I could try it one day.
Yeah.
See how it works.
Well, you got to be, the one thing I've realized, you got to be careful what you're singing, because sometimes people are kind of looking at you like, what is he talking about? I'm like, it's a famous song. Tell us about this song we're going to hear now in about 4 minutes. What inspired it? What do you guys want us to take from it? What's the lead instrument? Anything you guys want to tell us about it?
It's called Lost in Time. We wrote it a couple years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
We were actually setting up a video camera to record a couple of videos to put up on YouTube, and David started playing the guitar line. And I'm like, wait a minute, play that again. And Lisa was standing there talking, and I was watching the video, a few times as I was listening to the guitar line after, I was watching it again later, and it struck me that, that was just like a moment in time that was kind of, it's there on the video, but it's lost, it's behind us. And I started thinking about time, and that's kind of what the song is about, and just not giving up. We try to keep our lyrics, I guess we try to keep them positive and inspiring in some way, or give it some element of hope. So it's just sort of like, I guess, just living our lives, traveling through time. And
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What's the lead instrument?
Guitar.
I guess
Guitar
guitar
carries that song, most definitely.
So,
Yeah.
All right. I'll ask you guys again afterwards, but tell us about where people can find your music, buy it, listen to it, check you guys out, websites, socials, whatever you want to share with the fans.
Yeah, you can find us. Our music's, it's on Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify, Bandcamp, the usual. And, we're on at Transonics.com, our main website, and, Facebook, Transonics, and Twitter, and, the usual social media platforms. And, we try to, if someone sends us a message, usually we get back, within a day or so, But yeah, you can find us pretty much anywhere, just Google us and there we are. So.
Is there one of you that does the social media stuff, or you guys all try to do it?
David and I do most of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys can do it too if you want.
Yeah, well, thank you. Doing such a fabulous job.
Yeah, they're running. They're running to answer all those questions now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. That's great. I can't wait to hear this song. I haven't heard this one yet, so we're gonna listen to it right now, and then we'll come back and talk. Okay?
All right. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Here we go. Check it out. All right. That was very, very cool. Interesting. I think you guys have a very unique mixture, and I dig what you guys are doing. Do you guys have a live show or something coming up in Houston or something like that?
Yes. We're it's Loud Fest 2020. I think it's like the 4th year they're putting it on. It's in Houston, Texas, and hopefully, it'll work out. It's September 4th and 5th and it's features indie artists, hip hop, electronic dance music, and R&B, and a wide variety and genres all come together, and it's supporting the primarily indie artists, unsigned and stuff, and we're looking forward to heading out there and taking part in it.
So do you have to like scream louder than normal since it's a loud fest?
Hopefully not.
Yeah, you're gonna all throw out your voices.
Loud was an acronym for living out your dreams.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I feel stupid. Okay, that's cool.
No, you're fine. That's what I thought too at first. It's gonna be loud.
It's gonna be loud music.
Well, I hope it goes. I hope it doesn't get canceled. Houston's a great place. I think you guys will love it. I've been there twice, and I did the Space Center once, which was pretty cool, which obviously I'm not even sure that's still open, but you have to go to Pappas Brothers Steakhouse if you get a chance. They have like the best pecan pie in the world. So I don't know if you guys like pecan pie, but great steakhouse. It's kind of funny. I did a bunch of things there. That's all I remember is the steakhouse.
It must have been really good.
How important do you think connections are in this industry?
Very important.
Monumental.
We've made some great friends, in other bands, like all around, and they're very important. They kind of help us, get gigs. Well, when we could play out of town, they would help us get gigs out of town, and we would try to help them trade out gigs down here. They're extremely important.
Yeah, that's
Okay. We got a listener. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and hopefully when this is over, we can get back out playing out a lot, get back on the road.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great. So we have a listener, Trish, who's asking, I don't know how to ask this. When was the last time you guys wanted to kill each other? So I think she means if you're getting on each other's nerves.
Last night around 8:50 after practice? Just kidding. No.
There was that time we went up to Raleigh and we drove up there, played a gig, and back in the same day.
That wasn't fun because two of us came back and then we didn't realize that the other caravan stopped in.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there outside the house for about an hour with no keys.
I almost wrecked the car from sleep deprivation. It was 5 a.m. And I had been up for over 24 hours, and I'm trying to drive. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, Lisa and I kept taking turns, so we would stop every 30 minutes, like pull off the road and run around the car, and then the other person would take over for so it took us longer to get back.
So we learned a valuable lesson. If we have to drive that far out of town, we're staying the night.
Yes.
Yes. Coming back.
Yes.
Yeah. We have another question from Bob, and I think this is interesting because you obviously have men and women in your band, but he's asking about, do you think men and women get the same opportunities and equal pay in the music world? So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Oh, wow. That's a tough question.
I wouldn't know.
We all get paid.
I just feel like everyone makes more money than we do. So.
Yeah. It's a little bit early in the game at this point.
We're all equally broke right now.
Yeah.
So
Should they? Yes.
Starting.
I love your answer. Your answer of I don't know.
That is a good question.
I've given up on the fact of making any money doing this. I do it because I have to do it. It's like, something calls out to me to do it. So there's thousands of great artists out there, male and female, who will never really make any money, but they do it because they love doing it.
Yeah. There you go.
Absolutely. I agree with you guys. And what's interesting is live is the way people make their money because the 0.003 cents or whatever Spotify pays. And now live is affected. So I think people are starting to realize the importance of, you look at Bandcamp and you look at some of these Patreon that are still trying to promote the artists themselves and no middlemen, but that's tough too. I tried Patreon for a little bit, and there's so many videos that broke my heart where people are just begging for money. It's just such a hard thing to do. I don't have the answer for you guys either.
Yeah.
hopefully,
it's just selling merch, and that's it, and playing out live.
Yeah, hopefully things will get better soon. But I guess all that you can do right now to help out, your local musicians and artists is to try to purchase their music. Most people have stuff up on Bandcamp and stuff.
Yeah. What? Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. One of the things I like to ask almost everybody, unless I forget to ask them. So there's a lot of scams in this industry. Tell us about, either as a band member or on your own, something that you fell for, something that you want to warn other musicians about so we can protect each other.
We haven't really,
Knock on wood.
we haven't really run into anything of that nature. Where we're at, everybody is really generally supportive, and they work with each other and, support each other. So, and fortunately, in the wider scheme of things, we've been fortunate to work with Team Claremont, and they've done a great job for us, and can't say enough about how great they are. And Amuse has been really great and helpful. So fortunately, we've been lucky.
Is there a scam that you've heard about, or something that you've seen a friend or someone else fall for that you want to warn us about or talk about for a second?
I have heard about scams where somebody will say that they are a promoter, and then they will, you send them the money, and then they don't ever really promote your stuff. I've read about that, but I haven't experienced that personally, or I don't know anybody who's experienced that personally.
Yeah.
You do, I think, have to be extremely careful of who you trust,
Especially when you're giving out money and stuff.
Right.
Just, not only do your research, but find other bands and artists that
Have used them.
Yeah, that's using this company or this person that's, get a second, third, and fifth opinion about things before you jump right in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's 100% right. The first thing I do is I go to Google and I type their name and, the word fraud or something, and there's been some decent articles I've read on disc makers about it, but it's crazy how many people, and I myself have fallen for it. You think $10, $20, that's not much, but unfortunately, you don't want your Spotify, your Instagram, your Facebook to have a bunch of fake followers, because then whenever you boost something or market it goes to these people. So I definitely recommend, I don't have advice for people other than don't believe anything and just try to organically grow it. And it's hard because that the major labels, they spend their $1 million or $2 million promoting a song, and they have a YouTube budget and a TikTok budget. And if you just knew where to put that $50, $100, it would help you. But it's just such a weird thing to try to figure out.
Yeah, you have to really do research, which is, it's time consuming, but in the end, if you do your research and get references, and hopefully it works out. So, but we've been fortunate so far.
Do you guys have a favorite jam, 80s or 90s or 60s that you talked about earlier? Anything that's your go-to jam?
You mean that we play a song that we play with each other, or that we just like to listen to?
Yeah, or individually, whatever. You guys can take turns and name your individual one if you want, whatever works.
Yeah. Well, you're looking at me.
I would say Boots.
Yeah, we cover These Boots Are Made for Walking.
Nancy Sinatra. Yeah,
we like that.
I guess some cover songs is
classic.
Boots Are Made for Walking.
Yeah,
we'll do a Duran Duran cover, done a Blondie cover.
Sweet. The Sweet.
Oh, yeah, we did the Sweet.
Love Is Like Oxygen.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, that was fun. So, we
hopefully we'll do that one again.
Yeah, we just pull. Everybody kind of likes different things, so we just kind of, hey, let's try this. And we all have different influences.
I guess if there's something that we all like to listen to, I think collectively one of our favorite bands is the Growlers. We absolutely love them.
Oh, yeah.
We listen to them all the time.
Yeah,
we actually went to see them play in Charlotte, and you went to Atlanta, and we went back.
Yeah,
We saw them in Charleston, yeah. So.
We were groupies for a weekend.
Yeah.
Well, you just got to open for them now, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
that would be wonderful.
That would be so amazing. Wow.
Take our CD to the bus stop.
Yeah.
They're in the trash.
Yeah.
Just jump on top of their bus and just eventually they'll stop and get you down. If you guys had a band superpower, what would it be if you could pick one?
Superpower. A superpower.
Control the weather.
Yeah. Yeah. Let it not rain at any gig.
Or in the hot sun at 100 degrees.
Is the band had a superpower?
Yeah. Control the weather.
Mine would totally be like, okay, you ready for this gig? Yeah, you snap your fingers and your drums are set up. Everything's set up. Everything sounds good.
That one's
we just have
better
to get
than
up and play.
No, I like the weather.
That would be
Material-wise,
awesome.
Everything's perfect.
Yes.
Everything sounds good.
You need a
the sound guy isn't drunk and everything's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a superpower.
Yeah, that would be pretty impressive, I have to say.
No mics going bad. Oh my God.
Can I change my superpower?
Yeah, go ahead.
You want to change it to?
On top of that, we could teleport to the gigs. That would
Yeah,
be,
just
No,
that'd be pretty cool.
like get being there.
Yeah.
I guess pretty much what we're saying is roadies are pretty much a superpower.
Yeah. All right. Are there any apps on your phone that you can't live without?
I guess Facebook Messenger.
Really?
Really?
Ugh.
I like Dr. Google. Dr. Google. I ask Dr. Google for information all the time.
Oh, you just mean Google.
I just call it Dr. Google because he knows everything.
Mine's a drum loop app that I use all the time.
There's a recording app I use all the time.
Yeah,
too.
there's that. So.
There's a really cool Moog, right?
Moog.
Yeah, they just put out a mini Moog app on your phone. It's pretty sweet if you like synth and stuff like that.
Really?
It's just very fun to play with.
Check that out.
Interesting. All right. What's the coolest road trip you guys have been on together?
Well, the most memorable one was the Raleigh.
The Raleigh.
Yeah, that was.
That was very fun.
It was. Yeah, it was. 18-hour day, and it was long. We got a parking ticket, so
right in front of the place.
Right in front, and so. Which I still haven't paid, but
Oh, I forgot about the parking ticket. So what happened was there was a sign up there that said van loading area, and we're like, yay, van loading area. And you had to have a pass from inside the club to use the van loading area. We didn't know that, so we got a ticket.
They didn't cut you some slack though? That seems bizarre.
Well, they were pretty cool about it because we had two vehicles, and the first vehicle already had the ticket, and they said they couldn't take it back. But they gave us a break on the second vehicle that they were about to give the ticket to, but they hadn't entered it yet. So yeah, the guys up in Raleigh were pretty cool about that. But we still have that one ticket.
Yeah. I paid it.
No, it's too late now.
All right. What do you guys think in general about what's going on in music now? The royalty situation. What do you think is going to happen in the next 5 years? If you guys had a prediction.
Who wants to answer that one?
I mean, as far as like people sampling things, or someone writing a song and they're like, "Wow, this sounds almost exactly like this other song."
I was thinking more about the royalties. What songwriters are paid now, but yeah, you could take it in that direction if you want, about the sampling.
Well, I'm sorry. we're in a band. I guess we kind of would split any royalties amongst ourselves equally. But what do you mean by
Like,
Well, where do you see things going? In terms of what people are paid.
industry.
Spotify, Apple Music, Sync.
I mean,
opportunity.
I
Where do you
think
see the industry going?
I think independent musicians, I would love to see them become more mainstream, because I've seen a lot of major label musicians no longer are even on their labels. They're just sort of going off on their own, and they're making more money than they would on the record label. And supposedly we're trying to do this. We haven't successfully crossed this bridge yet, but you can have a successful music career without being a major label artist. If you can find your audience that will buy your albums, buy your merch. It doesn't take a huge audience in order to sustain a musical career. It's more about just finding your audience, and that's what we're trying to do right now, I guess. I think people who would listen to our music are kind of more outside of the club scene. Those aren't necessarily the people that are going to like our music. Like, we've had a lot of boomers like our music, and that actually is really very
It's a big compliment.
It's a big compliment, because they're like, oh wow, I
compliment,
can hear this influence, because we have a lot of influences from the 60s and the 70s, and they're getting it, and that's really pretty exciting. But then a lot of millennials are into our music too. It's kind of, I got off topic of the question. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
In the teens,
Yeah. But I mean, I think a lot of independent artists really have a good shot at doing something without having to use a major record label in order to do it. They just need to go out there and find their audience.
More than ever before, a single artist can just promote themselves and get a name out there and not have to be dependent. But but as far as royalties are concerned, in my opinion, I don't know. I think if artists that are signed, they can't play anywhere and they can't go and they can't sell tickets, and then what are they going to do? I've thought about that. Yeah. How are they going to make their money, and what's the future of music going to be if the industry, there's nothing.
You're making,
There's no foundation anymore.
3 cents.
Yeah.
So then what do you do?
I guess you're just doing it for love.
For the love of it? Yeah.
Well, obviously, we're all doing it for love.
Because we're not.
You're like, money's no object because nothing's coming.
Yeah.
All right. I have a last question for you guys before we send you on your way. So I give you $1 million. What's the first thing you do?
Get that RV we were looking at today.
Well, invest it.
Most definitely.
Invest it and use that to
Make our own.
make our own.
Set up our own recording studio.
Yeah,
And invite people to come in. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got $1 million for us?
I wish. All right. Do me a favor.
Invest it and use it, to help promote ourselves and, studio and fun stuff like that.
Promote almost anybody we can.
Yeah.
That would be exciting if that
Set up a
happened.
cool venue for people to come play.
Or just get like $1 million scratch offs and see what happens.
No.
Yeah.
Terrible idea.
There's got to be a winning ticket in there somewhere.
Right. All right. You know what? Why don't you guys share with us your contact information again, your website, before we sign off here?
Sure. You can find us at thetransonics.com. Emails, transonics@gmail. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And you can find our music, on Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify, Bandcamp. What else?
All the major streaming platforms. Yeah, we're up there.
And make sure you type in the Transonics.
Yes, the Transonics.
The Transonics.
Awesome. All right. I want to thank you guys so much for being on the show tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
You're welcome. Be happy to have you guys again anytime.
All right.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
We'll let you know when the EP comes out.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
right. I want to thank everyone out there for tuning in tonight and listening. If anybody out there wants to be on the Songwriter Show, please just reach out and email me. I hope everyone's unique story gets heard around the world. My name is Sarantos. Please join me every Tuesday night to hear other amazing artists share their fascinating behind-the-scenes stories right here at the Songwriter Show. And tonight I'm going to leave you with the rock song that I did a few years ago called We Accept the Love We Think We Deserve. This is a hard rock song about a man who's made many mistakes in his life. He constantly takes emotional abuse from his partner. Somewhere along the way, he has lost his faith. Through the words, the bruises, and the blame, though, he stays right there. I hope you enjoy it. Have a great night, and I'll see you again next Tuesday night. I love you guys. Thank you.
As the day comes to a close, another sad day gone by. Wish I was on the beach in Mykonos instead of living this life. You're on the outside looking in. You're asking why I won't leave. Seems obvious to all who know me, this relationship is not for me. We accept the love we think we deserve. In my life I've made so many mistakes, and somewhere along the way I lost my faith. After all these heartaches, it doesn't seem quite so bad to me getting yelled at daily. I do it for reasons others just can't believe. I take the abuse so easily. I sit emotionless, I look so strange. Through the words, the bruises and the blame, my body language just doesn't change, and my reasons stay the same. We accept the love we think we deserve. In my life I've made so many mistakes, and somewhere along the way I lost my faith. After all these heartaches, I lost my way. I lost my way. I lost my way. Accept the love we think we deserve. In my life I've made so many mistakes, and somewhere along the way I lost my faith. After all these heartaches, we accept the love. I accept the love.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.
Thank you for choosing Pesmo Radio.